Being the trend.
Sherry, I like the picture.
2 meters apart, speaking moistly.
Oh, what a terrible image.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. Okay. Okay, cool. John, I've got you in the screen to get going in just a minute.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. People are still joining us at rapid fire.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, Christine, get your coffee. Just a few more seconds here.
Pardon? I didn't see. See, there's Let's go.
Okay, are you ready, John?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
Okay, let's get going here. Thank you, everybody, for coming today. My name is John Dawson. I'm the director of the CoESP here at Guelph. That's the College of Biological Science Office of Educational Scholarship and Practice. And just welcome. Today we've got 115 people signed up, and from 24 different places across Canada, the US, around some in Europe as well. So whether it's super early in the morning for you or the afternoon, welcome everybody. Today is just a session that is part of the CoESP's, what we call our boot camp. And it's just an opportunity to get together and share and be inspired. And so today we've got Sho and Alex live from their home, and they're going to share with us about Zooming and so on with large classes. And that's all you need to hear from me. So I'm going to turn it back over to them. Just welcome, everybody.
Thank you very much. Hello everyone. We're delighted to have the opportunity to welcome you into our home.
Good afternoon.
One of the things that our students discovered with the Scramble pivot in March is that we're married. They had no idea, and we co-teach together. But then when they saw us in our new classroom, they started whispering.
You could see, and we couldn't mute them at that point. So
That's
we're like,
right.
They're not social distancing.
So we had
Busted.
we had to explain, and so obviously our teaching scenario is a little bit different. But consider marrying your co-instructor.
We're not, I mean, it's not in the to-do list. It's not in the checklist. There is a checklist, but it's not in there.
Okay. So we're going to take you through a bunch of different sort of kind of rapid fire, because we don't want to take all day, different tools that will show you how you might be able to use them. If you're interested in learning the sort of specifics of like click here and go there and download this and download that, we're more than happy to do sort of smaller or one-on-one sessions with you. But we just want to introduce you to some of the functionality because it's not about the tech. It's about engaging your students. And so we hope that you will be engaged in what we're going to be doing, and you can experience it as a student to see whether or not that's something that, you know, got you interested, got you engaged, or whether you'd like to try some other tools. So we have a question for you. We mentioned that we've been teaching a large class, and we also recognize that some people think of a large class a little bit differently than maybe we do. So we're not going to tell you the size of our class. We'd like you to tell us the size of a large class. To do that, if you wouldn't mind, please, going up to the top of your screen where you see a menu bar, there should be a View Options tab. Please select the View Options tab, and then from there, select Annotate. You'll then get a menu that looks an awful lot like a PowerPoint bar across for drawing. Select the Stamp option, and please put a stamp at more or less where a large class starts for you.
You are awesome.
Yay, look at this.
Nice.
Okay. So from this, we can conclude that a large class really differs in definition, right? And a shout out to my colleague Stefan Grather, who has been studying what a large class is for a very long time. Oh, we've got a star all the way off the bar. Wonderful. Okay.
And confidence intervals.
Oh, amazing. So a large class can be a lot of different things, and a technologically large class can also have a different range, right? It depends on the number of participants that you can welcome on the technological platform, and then also the types of activities that you can do really does depend on class size. It doesn't mean that you can't engage with a large class, it's just that you have to do it a little bit differently. Okay, so this is an example of how you might be able to, talk to your students without actually having their voices go across the online platform.
And as you can see, just in different kinds of annotations, they'll figure out a voice.
Yeah. So we're going to clear that. There's a function for the host to clear all drawings.
Or to save them.
Oh, right, you can save them and then post them online later. We're going to show you a Zoom poll, so please stop annotating for the moment. We'll get you back into the annotating. I know it's fun. And we're going to share a poll with you. Here we go. We're relaunching. And we're going to ask you, how tech savvy are you? And this is a multiple choice Zoom poll. You should have it there. Please go ahead and fill it out.
Look at it go.
Thank you so much.
These are, of course, SI units of tech savviness.
That's right.
Meh.
Meh.
A femto meh. A peta meh.
Okay, so most of you have filled it out. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the polling and share the results with you. So here we go, sharing the results. You can see somewhat and well-versed. Some of you are super duper, some of you not at all. So there's quite a range. And this demonstration or event, whatever you'd like to call it, is certainly geared towards the a little bit and the somewhat. But again, if you're not there yet and you would like us to help get you there, we're more than happy to do it at a later time. The other thing that we did is we made sure that what we're going to show you is low cost, either through an institutional license or through a low cost personal license. So there's that aspect too. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We're going to stop sharing the results. And so that was a Zoom polling function that you can use. Here's another opportunity to annotate. So I will clear the ones that are already there. And we want to know a little bit about your teaching context. So do you teach first year, second year, a grad course, and in which discipline? Using the stamp feature again, please go ahead and indicate where you are in this table. If you are an other and you'd like to use the text function to let us know what other discipline you're teaching, that would be wonderful as well. High school biology, welcome.
Change lives.
Computer science, icon, transdisciplinary teaching, wonderful. Somebody said no. Maybe no teaching. Geography, thank you. Bioinformatics, nutrition, forensic science, amazing. Nonprofit management, The no was a typo. Thank you.
I would take the class called No.
I would totally take that class.
Introduction to Argumentative Studies?
Wonderful.
Nah.
Cool. Okay. So lots of biology and then lots of other that lets us know about who's in the room. And so we can do kind of a tailor, customize, use different examples depending upon the experience of our students. You may also note that Alex is monitoring the chat, and we'll talk to you about that a little bit later. Awesome. Somebody's teaching studio art. Whoa. We'll talk to you a little bit about the chat and our experiences with large class teaching synchronously with the chat because... And
an interested student.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Welcome, students. Okay, cool. Moving on. We're going to clear this, and again, you can save these data and use at another time if you want. Okay, what words come to mind when you think of online learning? So let's show you Menti in order to engage with this question. Please open up a web browser. You can do this on a separate device on your phone if you want, or you can do this just on another window and go to www.menti.com. That's MENTI.com. And enter the code 142767. And then fill out, you'll see on your screen, it'll give you the option to put in some words.
And so one neat thing here is we can see that you're filling in this survey already, but you notice we haven't shared the screen with it yet. And this is part of the one of the tricks. When you've got these word clouds that are going to be forming, they tend to reinforce. So if somebody start filling it out and somebody says fart, that tends to increase in size.
Yeah. So you don't want to show the results as they're being compiled, just because students, if somebody writes something funny.
But they're awesome.
But they're awesome. So you guys are amazing. Let me share. Most of you, or not most of you, some of you have managed. Oh, there we go. A lot of you now. Wonderful. Excellent. So I can share the results because I'm sharing my Zoom screen and not a window. I can simply then just bring over my web browser to show you the results here. There we go. So this is how to do a word cloud using Menti. Menti is really good for short answer and word type questions, not so much with the other platforms, so we use it for that. So words that come to mind, technology, engagement, and I love that those two are together. Difficult, yes.
Procrastination.
Oh, good. Remote, yeah. Challenging,
hard.
difficult. Hard. Opportunity, wonderful.
Not engaging.
Engaging.
These are some of the... This is the spectrum.
Yeah, full spectrum. So again, you can use this to get ideas from your students. You can use it in a bridging exercise to get them to connect with what it is that you're going to be talking about. So what comes to mind when you think of natural selection? And that kind of gets their brain going. You can use this word cloud to do that quite effectively. Okay, so thank you very much for your participation in that one. So smooth. Okay. The next question that we're going to ask you through a Menti is question number 2. There we go. So why synchronous? So what are the benefits of doing something in a synchronous way? So go ahead. We've opened up that question, and this is a short answer feature that you can put in your answer in short form. Please go ahead and do that. I see lots already. Thank you. Wonderful. Now, we don't have what's called the profanity filter on here, so please feel free to be profane. But there is a profanity filter that you can use.
For multiple languages. If
all
somebody
languages.
Starts letting off in Norwegian,
it'll catch it.
Into the penalty box.
We thought maybe with what comes to mind when you think about online learning, you might want to express yourself.
Something about a fan, something
flying.
Hidden.
Okay, so thank you so much. And just to share some of the results with you, that you can see what it looks like. Here we go.
So Menti is so awesome spatially with the word cloud and with these longer short answer questions, that responses that then get spread out and scroll. And you can save these. You can reverse where they are.
Yeah.
You can probably see that at the bottom that we can press enter to pause the scroll if you want to talk about something.
Yeah. So it's a really great tool for that. Just to kind of speak to some of your comments.
I don't know what this is.
I don't know what this is.
Maybe that's a good
Very
question.
good. Synchronous. It means you and me are sitting together experiencing something at the same time, right? The opposite is asynchronous. And so we do take advantage of an asynchronous platform by recording this session and posting it onto YouTube or onto your learning platform so that students can see it later. The big message that I'm getting from what you're writing is what we experienced. Synchronous is an opportunity to engage with your students, to get them participating either with 600 or small group discussion. If you're just going to record a lecture or just talk through a lecture in sort of a traditional lecture style, way better to do it asynchronously and to use that opportunity together to work through problems or to give information or share information back and forth.
We're kind of back into the flipped model.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
to recap, one of the best things about Synchronous is that it's also asynchronous if you record.
Always record. And some people are worried that students won't come. The idea is that your synchronous should be so engaging and such an individual experience that they want to come. And if they happen to not be able to for whatever reason, they can still catch up a little bit.
Yeah, and they can revisit it. That's super.
Okay. So, March.
Fans.
Stuff flying.
Yeah.
March. Do you remember March? Do you feel the pain of March? March was hard, right? And we were scrambling. Yeah. March was curl up in a ball, roll. Okay. March was hard. We were scrambling. And we were trying to learn all of this new tech. And I am not tech savvy. This one is a little bit more tech savvy, thankfully.
I think that's damning with faint praise, I think. Thank you.
But this is what our Zoom room, classroom looked like in March. So you want to walk us through it?
So basically what we started to do, we went through a couple of iterations early on as our institution's suggested platform changed very quickly. We started out in one where we could not have a theater mode, where the muting of our students was based on their discretion, which they discovered very quickly, and there was some less than discretionary decisions made. So then we got Zoom, where we can go into theater mode and mute everybody at the same time.
Yeah.
Now the next issue, the next kind of challenge that we had was that the license that we had was half or a third of the size of the classroom that we needed to fill. So the maximum of 300. We'll come back to our solution to that in a second, because it took us a little while to figure out how to do it. And so I say solution, it's kind of a kludge. It was like a MacGyver.
Yeah.
We transitioned all of our slides from PowerPoint to Google Slides. And this is what you're seeing right now. So at the bottom of the screen, what you're seeing there, the Chiron is the closed captioning, the live closed captioning that's happening. We have some self-identified. We knew in that class we had people who self-identified with some hearing issues, and so this was something that we had to do. I think even if you haven't had that person identify, they're in your class. Expect them to be there, and don't rely on them having to tell you. Just closed caption, because why not?
Yeah.
So then we started to, instead of using our in-class things like iClicker, we switched to Menti. So we stopped being able to mark those things, but we could still engage our classroom like you saw a couple of seconds ago. Instead of using the Zoom chat, we used on our course link, our D2L site, we used the chat there because we wanted our students to have a record kept on their course as to what kind of questions were asked and what our responses were. We set up this Screencast-O-Matic that cost, like 40 Canadian dollars, I think, or 50 Canadian dollars. And we did that because we wanted to be able to, like we said earlier, the best part of Synchronous is its asynchronicity, if you choose. And so we were going to put these onto YouTube later on.
Yeah.
Which is what we did.
YouTube does do closed captioning. It takes about 24 hours, but it basically means that any students that need them in order to participate wouldn't be able to participate in the synchronous activity. And if you're doing synchronous, it's to engage them. So it's really important to have those closed captioning available. The other thing is with the chat, it's really difficult to tend to an online chat while you're teaching synchronously. And that's why we took advantage of the two-body teaching situation that we had. So when one of us was teaching, the other was monitoring the chat. And through D2L or through our online learning platform, they had a record of it later in a way that Zoom would be super clunky to do.
Somebody asked about Menti. Is it free? There is a free version. That's what we're using. There is a non-free version.
Yes.
The free version, you get a limited number of slides or shows. Limited number of slides per show, and we just end up recycling and reusing.
So with a limited license of 300 for Zoom, we created basically Zoom Inception, where we had an overflow room, and we logged on with an iPhone to one of the spots in our home office original Zoom room, creating a second one by pointing the iPhone at a laptop that was logged into. Anyway, it was a mess.
Like, there was no duct tape, but there almost was duct tape until we found the little tripod for the phone. But it was Yeah.
So there you go. But no more, because
Da-da-da.
things may change. But let us show you a little bit about what it actually looked like when we posted the video on Zoom. Yeah, it is muted. That's fine.
Yeah.
But here's what you can see. So you can
Look
see
at those
us in the top. You can see then Smith is going through some of the really cool things that he does, zooming in into a gigapan to take students basically on a walk through a forest.
Is this the time that I can talk about caterpillars?
No. But this really allows students to see you, which is really important. And again, if you're not doing something cool, then why are you there kind of deal. So you want to use it. They want to see your face. They want to see your expressions. And then you can kind of take them to different places around the interwebs.
There's no reason that the digital environment doesn't let you share enthusiasm.
Okay, so our videos are posted, if you would like to see them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. We're going to exit. I don't know. Escape. There we go. Good. Okay. So, students were really interesting. We did get our feedback from them, and what was really important to note is that all of the things that they said about their experience had nothing to do with technology. They didn't say, "Oh, Zoom was amazing," or
WebEx was awful.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think our tech was pretty bad. We had problems. It didn't work. But none of them even noticed, because it's about engaging them and bringing them into an experience. And I think we discovered how important the instructor becomes in creating community in a way that they wouldn't be able to do it now that they're not face-to-face doing student clubs and other activities, right?
Yeah, so think about your students who are coming in this year. So there's the existing cohort, second, third, fourth year grad students. They've been through this, but they know you. They know the place. They have a community they can still touch into. But your first year students entering in, they've already been through this. They're still going through it. They've gone through an online teaching. If you're in a post-secondary environment, they're still going through it. They've gone through it more than you have, and they need that community. They're looking forward to meeting you.
That's right.
That's weird, but they are.
So our fall is going to look different because there's a rumor, and I'm going to say it so that hopefully we can spread it. And the rumor is that at least our University of Guelph is going to be getting Zoom licenses for a maximum of 1,000 students.
You get a Zoom license, and you get a Zoom license, and you get a Zoom license.
This is what we need you to do. So anybody from Guelph, please advocate for this. It would be really great to have this so we don't have this clunky overflow room. We also got feedback about about our overflow room to say that some students with disabilities were not able to access it in the same way. So obviously it's important to get that larger Zoom license. With that, then we don't have to use our kids' bedroom as the second classroom, but we are still going to be sharing the chat, or splitting the chat, and then the leading of the synchronous experience. Because it is so difficult to do it at the same time. You want your students to fool around on the chat. You want them to feel comfortable. You want them to post links to things that whatever you're saying reminds them of, but you might not want to be distracted by that, right? So what could that look like for you? First of all, you could marry your co-instructor. It's pretty good for us.
It worked out really well for me.
Or we'll show you something in a second. What we're going to do in our fall, though, for engagement is basically the same types of things, right? We're going to have, our pets, probably our children if things don't change very quickly, and we're going to have funny mugs. For some reason, this is the only time he's going to wear a jacket. Yep, there we go. We'll probably change up our mugs every time, make it a little game, something like that. Stuart was a prominent feature. He used to start off class like this.
Is anybody here?
And so anything to keep them entertained. We're also going to learn how to use a green screen. So we bought this whiteboard for our house office, and we're going to get like some kind of matte finish for it. And maybe what we'll do then is teach to the green screen so that you can kind of move around a little bit and have a larger space and then point at your slides this way. So we're going to play with that and see whether or not it's going to work for us.
So there's also, if you have the capacity, the freedom, the privilege of setting up a little theater, a lecture theater, there's all sorts of things you can play with. And the green screen is a great start. And there's lots of ways that you can then interact visually with the material you're presenting. But I guess keep always in the front part of your brain that it's not the tech, and that if it's frustrating to you and if you start thinking about, if I'm going to do this, I need to set up a theater, it's like, no. You need to be you. You need to figure out the easiest way to present you with them.
Excellent. So your fall 2020, marry your co-instructor, or if you usually do have 2 instructors for a course, maybe you split it up 6 weeks and 6 weeks or something like this, consider offering your services when you're not actively teaching to be the one monitoring the chat. And you can do this remotely. Smith doesn't have to be sitting next to me in order to do that.
He likes it, but he doesn't have to be.
And so think about that. Or think about, as you're putting in your requests for TAs, or as you're sort of assigning TAs different jobs, think about taking out a chunk for monitoring the chat and engaging with the chat as an option, because we do think that it really is valuable to have it and to have it monitored by a separate person. So we have a question for you. What can you do to share some of your personality with your students to increase engagement while using Zoom or some kind of online platform? And to do that, we'd like to show you how you can get students to answer questions, but not worry about who they, having their identity known, right? So what we'd like you to do is to find your little Zoom box where it has your name, and to click on the 3 dots, the ellipses. There you'll have the option to rename yourself, and what we'd like you to do is to rename yourself to Anonymous. Once you've renamed yourself to Anonymous, we'd like you to join the Zoom chat and put in an answer to some of the things that you could do, quirky or otherwise, to engage students using Zoom, and you'll see that it will post just as Anonymous. So please go ahead and play with that function. Show off a pet.
Kahoot!
Kahoot! Yes!
Kahoot!
Kahoot is great also.
Start off with a fun song.
Yep. Find objects in the background as students wait for the lecture to start. Ooh,
fun
that's
backgrounds.
Good.
Photo
Yeah.
booth. Yes. Costumes.
Wonderful. Costumes.
Play something.
Oh, yeah, if you're a musician.
If you're not a musician.
Oh, even better. You could learn an instrument and play 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, the recorder.
A joke of the day. Wonderful. Hide and seek, search and find. Puppets. Yes.
Oh, I
Okay.
like puppets.
Puppets are
Like
great.
maybe too much, but
No.
baby photos, dance breaks,
Yeah, really good. Okay.
singing.
Good. So that's how you can get feedback from your students anonymously, by just getting them to change their name to anonymous, or to something that's common, so that everyone can appear the same. You can get you can do stop, start, continues, for example. What do you want me to stop doing? What do you want me to start doing? What should I continue doing? And get some feedback from them that way.
Collect that with Menti.
Or you can do it with Menti as well, right? So, but anyway, just to show you. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind switching your names back, or if you want to stay anonymous, that's totally fine as well. We want to show you some breakout room functions. So Zoom has the capacity for breakout rooms. There are a limited number, but what we would like you to do is to experience what it's like to be in a breakout room. Now, some of you, I think, are not super interested in participating in discussion, and if you are, we'll just ask you to keep your video off and your mute off, and that will signal to the people in the breakout room that you're just here to kind of experience it. For those who would like to see what that's like, we're going to put you all in breakout rooms. You can also opt out of joining. That's another way that you can do it. What we'd like you to do is to remember the breakout room number, and if there's time, we can call on breakout room number 3. Why don't you share what you talked about, kind of deal. So just remember your breakout room number in case we're gonna call on you to share. So here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna put you in a separate room. You're gonna get an invitation to join. We'll give you about 7 minutes to talk to each other. If you'd like to ask each other some of the questions that you still have about synchronous teaching or about teaching online just generally, please go ahead and share. If you've had any big ideas that you want to try, please share those with everyone else. I think that's kind of what we're all looking for these days. So let's put you into some breakout rooms. To do that, I have to stop sharing my screen. And now I'm going to go over here and create breakout rooms. So we go to here, we have 78 participants. So we're going to put you into, let's say, 15 rooms. So that'll be 5 or 6 participants per room, and you can see what that feels like. I'll give you a 1-minute warning when we're going to shut it down, okay? I'll also send you a message to remind you about what we've suggested that you talk about. Obviously, this is not a class, so talk about whatever you want. But I'll show you how that works. Okay? Are you ready? Yes? There, I see thumbs up. Good. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
1.
Don't bump your head on the way out.
There we go. They're all going into their rooms.
There's a question regarding the rate of delivery, that this is going fast.
What do you mean?
That we are.
Yeah, we're going fast. We have like an hour to show them all the things, but of course you're going to slow this down. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
we can talk about that when we come
Yeah,
back.
for sure. For sure.
To me, it's just advocates for a flip model. If you want to discourse, if you want to just get stuff out, record it and then talk.
Yeah.
With your peeps.
Yeah, absolutely. join?
Please send cookies.
Wonderful. Great. So this is being recorded. So what I can share with you is that this is an opportunity for you to take a break, for you to regroup. Maybe if you're going to open up a browser for another activity or something like this to kind of get ready to go.
Place your heads between your knees, drink some water.
Yeah, bio breaks. Oh, we're going to go into a breakout room. I need a bio break.
And remember, if you do that, if your mic is on you,
Yes.
take your mic off.
Yes. Wonderful. Okay. So, should we give everybody a 1-minute warning?
Bring cookies.
Bring cookies. There we go. So, when you give somebody a 1-minute warning, what happens is they get a 60-second countdown. It means that they can decide to join back right away. But the thing that you need to know about that is that within those 60 seconds, you cannot create a new breakout session. So you have to wait for the 1 minute to be completely over before you can create breakout rooms. So everybody's joining us again. Welcome back.
Maybe a word when we come back about
30 seconds
breakout
before
rooms
the
and
breakout
screens.
rooms get shut down on our end. What's that?
As people are coming back, maybe a thought about breakout rooms that we've heard different people with different opinions on. Generally, in this kind of a lecture, the screens, you might not have your video activated. When you break out, it's generally, we would say it's not a necessary thing, but it's a good idea to encourage people to share their screens so that they're not just in like a closet breakout room.
Yes.
Don't be in the closet.
Don't be in the closet.
Share
of the
your
breakout
video.
room. Okay.
Hello, look at all these people.
Look at all these people. Wonderful. So that's what a breakout room can feel like. You can have breakout rooms for long sessions. So for example, if you're going to be doing some kind of active group work, you can put students into breakout rooms. You can assign breakout rooms and do all sorts of things like that. Right. We're going to share our screen again. There we go. So you can use it in a creative way. If you have fewer than 50 students, you can ask students to go into a breakout room by themselves. So not
Sit in the
to
box
punish them.
for 2 minutes, you feel shame, then you come back.
But it is an opportunity for them to have sort of a quiet moment without being distracted by other people or other screens or something like that. If you want to do a kind of think part to the think, pair, share, asking them to go into a breakout room by themselves is a pretty good way of doing that. It kind of, shuts out all sorts of other distractions. But there are some restrictions in terms of the number of breakout rooms that you can make that may make that not possible. Okay, so we would like to know some of those. If you have any questions, we would love to know about them. You can do this in two ways. You can annotate using the text feature. You can annotate this slide. And we'll show you probably some of the limitations of that. So just by using the text, go ahead and put your questions there and we'll save this slide. Also, if you'd like to put them in the chat, then we'll be able to take a look at some of the questions that you've got. And we'll try to answer some of them now in the remaining few minutes that we have. Or we will keep them and maybe develop another seminar for you that addresses some of those questions.
Somebody's asking how easy it is to assign students into breakout rooms. It's a little drop down at the top of the menu that you have as the host.
Yeah.
You select the size of the room, whether you want to place people into a room manually, selectively, or automatically, and then you go.
I love this question. How do you stop students from saying vulgar things like biochemistry sucks? Well, you don't. So you can't put a profanity filter on that. We did notice one section of our biology class was a little more interested in being silly or controversial.
Yes, the vulgarians of 1030.
Yes. So we did use Menti actually quite a lot because of the profanity filter. It allowed, the other students to not be distracted by some of that.
Somebody's asking, how do you access the annotate feature from a mobile device? And I actually, sitting here, I'd have to Google that. I don't know.
Yeah, there are some limitations to the mobile devices, and we haven't personally experienced them. And so, yes, that is something that we definitely need to look up.
Are we in present full screen or part screen?
Part screen, I think,
Okay.
probably. Yeah. It's a little thing where when you do a YouTube full screen and then you go back, it then shows you your tabs. So, you have to figure out how to get
your
rid of that.
bookmarks. So
And
if what you're doing is looking for jobs,
Job search right there, for example. Okay.
the annotate on desktop. So under view options at the top, you've got your viewing Shoshanah Jacobs screen, and then a little drop down for annotate. View options, and under view options is annotate, and then there's submenus of your shapes or drawing or text.
So actually, what has happened here on the actual slide with the annotation, you can see that going back here, if you're writing in the same spot as someone else, then it's really difficult to see. So that's one of the limitations. If you have a really large class, you may not want to get them to annotate using text. And so it's difficult for me to read this question here. How do you may be able to move, one of you may be able to move it out of the way so that we can read it. But then I see synchronous learning. I think it's how do you bring students in when asynchronous learning is their only option? Yes.
Yeah.
There are a whole bunch of other tools that you can do in order to get them to feel like they're participating in something synchronous. We're learning about different ways of kind of interrupting videos to ask them questions, and all of that can be done asynchronously. And you have to just create this new environment, right? That gets them to feel like they're actively involved in something.
How much time did transitioning slides from PowerPoint to Google Slides take? It took a little bit of time. There are some things where we had removed background with that kind of the new PowerPoints kind of remove background. Those things get kind of clunky because they don't get transferred well. But if you set up the aspect ratio in Google Slides to be the same as it is in PowerPoint and you import, it should be pretty good. And if you use video, it's really good at embedding YouTube clips. Yeah, so there's some actual pros in addition to the live casting of the closed captioning. There's some pros.
So another question is, how do you moderate live questions and chat in a class of 600? Yeah, you might not want to, is what we're saying. If you do want to, we can show you. So I would go to Stop Share here. I would bring over my Zoom screen. Hi everyone. Yeah. Okay. And then I would go to Gallery View. And then what we could do is we could ask for one of you to raise their hand, like anybody that would like to talk with us to raise their hand. So I see in my screen, I see Dan Gillis. Hi, Dan. I'm going to unmute Dan so Dan can raise his hand, and that will make themselves clear on our participants list that they're waiting to talk with us. And then I can unmute Dan. Hi, Dan. How are you?
I'm lovely. How are you?
Super good. So thank you for letting me pick on you. I knew that it would be okay. And then Dan can share. So Dan, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. In terms of the breakout rooms and the manual assignment of students to a breakout room, how easy is that?
It's not super easy, and we haven't become experts in it at all, but we do know that it is possible, and we're going to explore that. Actually, John Dawson and I are going to explore that for next class that we're teaching, to kind of play around with the different ways of assigning people. So that's to come. Thank you for that question. And now I'm going to mute Dan. Bye, Dan. So that's how you might do it, right? You can get them to identify that they would like to speak by raising a hand, and that's available on the participant bar. And then you are signaled to that, and then you can unmute them and have them share. It gets really clunky the more students that you have, and so by creating these like digital opportunities to interact by stamping or annotating or chatting, it works quite well. So again, it just depends on your level of comfort with that. Okay, so if I go back to sharing screen, we can probably see more questions. And we are getting close to the end.
I guess maybe a quick word about the setup, the room that we have. I don't know if you could tell. So I'm annotating. I'm trying to trend on, watch the chat, participate with my carriage return. What Sho is working on is a desktop with 2 monitors, and this is one real plus of having a 2-monitor system. If you can do that, tiptoe back into your institution, get your monitor from there, because there is now here. And,
Absolutely. Yeah. So somebody is recommending a closed captioning free app. Thank you, Chris, so much. This is important to have these closed captioning. So the app link is provided by Chris in the chat. Will there be more training sessions for Zoom? If you would like them, we would love to learn from you or to learn new tools and then share them with you. Absolutely, I think there's that opportunity. So we are now at 45 minutes, and that somebody was asking about length.
Freaking hot in this jacket.
How do you feel? You must be tired. We are tired.
Yeah, and actually that came up a couple of times that I didn't get to, which is then a teachable moment about how it is at curating the chat. But how long should you make these sessions? I think people you have a bunch of things going on in your life. Your students have a bunch of things going on in their life. If you were thinking about just doing a straight up full hour of lecturing, maybe collapse that. Smaller vignettes, smaller narratives, smaller stories, and then this also came up a little bit in the chat where I was trying to express that one of the pluses to splitting with Synchronous is that you can make it asynchronous afterwards, and so it really pushes you towards a flip model where your time together with your students is about discussing and talking and responding and yes-anding all the way through the afternoon or the morning.
Right. Yeah. So don't make it just 10 minutes or else they're going to think that you're wasting their time to break up their day, right? But don't make it too long because you don't want to lose their focus and you want them to want to come back, right? So not too short, not too long is the perfect time.
It's a Goldilocks.
Yeah. So you want to keep them engaged. You want to keep them moving around. One of you mentioned that we're going so fast.
Yep.
We are because there's a lot of different tools, right? And you can intersperse some sort of more lecture-y type things in there that are interesting and part of a narrative, all good. But you want to make sure that they're not just staring at a screen. So every 5 minutes, 6 minutes, give them an activity to do that gets them back, gets their attention back to the screen. So we are now at 47 minutes. And with that, we will thank you.
I can hear everybody packing up because they have to walk down the hall and across the
time
green
to
get
go.
to their next class.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you all so very much for this opportunity. Stuart, thanks you as well. We really appreciate the opportunity to be able to think about these things and to put them together and also to meet new friends. And we will be posting this on YouTube and hopefully we'll be able to send you all a link as well if you've registered so that you can follow it.
We'll probably post if there's some questions here that we're like, oh my God, how did I not think about that? We might start a thread later on the Twitter box.
Great. Take care, everyone.
Let me jump in too to say thank you, Sho and Alex, for spending some time with us today. And just for everybody, the link, you can follow us on Twitter, CoESP. It's on the screen there. And also we're planning on having some technology field trips in the future where we can just get together and test out different things on Zoom, for example. So we're going to try one with Zoom. We're going to try one with Teams, just to see how it can work for groups, for example. So stay tuned. Just stay tuned to that CoESP Twitter account, and you'll be in the loop with what's going on. So thanks, everyone, for coming today. And if you have any more questions, feel free to get in touch with us.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. It was great to see faces that we
Wonderful.
saw. Lovely.